So welcome everyone. My name is Dr. Ryan Kathleen, and I am proud and privileged to be the president of Norwood-Fontbonne Academy. We are so excited tonight to cap off our day after a series of incredible talks with our esteemed alumnus, Dr. Kathleen Walls, who is here as part of our Centennial Speaker Series to hear the many voices that make NFA the incredible community that it is. And I have to say that I had the privilege of seeing from the classroom and then getting to fully attend one of the sessions with our students today. And the kids were literally on the edges of their seats. I mean, it was kind of impossible to sit crisscross applesauce because they were so eager to share a comment, answer a question. It could not have been better. And it was just so exciting to see the awe in their eyes that this journey started in this classroom where I sit today. And I too can have the kind of life and career that Dr. Walls has. So I know that you are going to be joy because Dr. Walls is a joyful person who just brings that spirit with her wherever she goes. And I know you're going to enjoy our conversation, but certainly the best person here to give her an introduction is her dear friend, our own Mrs. Amory Greenberg, who maintains relationships, because we're all about relationships here at NFA with our alums. So Mrs. Greenberg, take it away.
I'll do this. No. This is what we did all day today. So this evening's speaker, of course, is our beloved alum, Dr. Kathleen Walls. She is a 1985 graduate of NFA and a 1989 graduate of Mount St. Joseph's Academy. Kathleen continued her education at Temple University, where she received her BS in early childhood and elementary education. And then she earned her MS in counseling, psychology, and human services with a specialization in child and adolescent therapy from Chestnut Hill College, as well as her doctorate in clinical psychology. Dr. Walls is the owner and founder of The Greatest Counseling and Consulting located in Philadelphia. This is an acronym for God restores excellence and activates talents and encourages spiritual transformation. It just goes with her. She is the author of 2 inspirational books, The Greatest, A Soul Journey, and Live by the Spirit. And now she has authored her first in a series of children's books, bringing the life lessons to those young inquiring minds. Her book, The Adventures of Froggy T and Bunny, a hip hop tale, The Reunion, was a big hit with our students today, as well as myself. I can't wait to get my copy in the mail. Kathleen has been an adjunct college professor, psychotherapist, and strategic advisor to leaders and organizations on their people, process, and performance challenges. She has worked with a wide range of civic, educational, healthcare, and business enterprises, such as Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, Jefferson, and Drexel Universities, just to name a few. Dr. Walls' accolades are many, and she has traveled far and wide, helping and counseling many. Kathleen can also be seen on her YouTube channel, Dr. Walls and Friends, on Instagram, Ask Dr. Walls, and now Froggy T and Bunny. Kathleen is also the co-owner of Green Street Animal Care. Kathleen's father was one of the first American veterinarians in the state of Pennsylvania, and she became a certified dog groomer so that her brother, Dr. Brian Walls, who is a doctor of physical therapy, could continue their father's legacy in animal care. Always ready to give back, Dr. Walls was my first yes when I asked her to be a presenter for our Alumni Career Day last spring. So we've been in contact with one another over the year. Let's just say that Kathleen would give the Energizer Bunny a run for her money, and my money would be on Kathleen. So please join in welcoming Dr. Kathleen Walls back to NFA.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Yes, turn your cameras on so I can at least see your face. And as I say to the kids, I like tambourines. I don't have mine with me, so I ask you just to shake like this. I know for those who speak sign language, you know, that's a that's a welcoming, a happy, so I just wanted to make sure that this was an engaging presentation. It really is a trip down memory lane. I know some people will be shaking their heads as I mentioned some of the names when this journey really started. So for me, this journey writing a children's book actually started at Norwood between first and third grade, because I would write my own children's stories and I would do my own illustrations, and I would write stories about Jesus and why the grass was green. And I had it because Jesus was clumsy and he didn't clean up after himself. So like when we had art class with Miss Schilling and we were told to clean up, Jesus didn't clean up and he would knock stuff over and it would fall through this hole in the sky and it would end up on the ground, and that's why the grass was green. And I'd have all types of stories like that. And I would ask Sister Eileen and Miss Lambert and Miss Egan and people, can I please go down to the kindergarten? Can I go down to the nursery school and read? And they would say yes. And so I would go down and read the stories. And my brother was down there, so I would be reading to him and to his friends as well. So when people ask me, when did you start writing a children's story? I'm like, I actually started as a child. And so that imagination stayed in me. Now, throughout my journey, I ended up becoming an early childhood and elementary school teacher. And so the power of reading was so important. And I would use it as a lot of times to help my students, one, calm down after lunchtime. And it was a way to settle them so that we could then get into the rest of the day, but also to expose them to other worlds and other genres that they may not have been familiar with. I always loved to rhyme. So that was definitely a way to hook people. Miss Connick in music, for those who remember Miss Connick, was very important. So the lyrical part of me was activated very early on because I took recorder from kindergarten all the way through 8th grade. I wanted to continue in the high school, but I couldn't because high school life gets very busy. And so there was something that I had to put down, but it was something that I would pick up from time to time. Over the past 2 months, I've been cleaning out my parents' house and come across music sheets and original recorders that I had. And so I'm like, I wonder if I can still play. I can pick them up. And so music, as I'll share with you in the adventures of Froggy T and Bunny, is an integral part as well. And then just following your journey. So the whole premise to this book here started out actually as a poem to a friend. And my mentor and friend, Dr. Thomas Gordon, it was his birthday. And instead of buying a card, I wanted to do something creative. And so I wrote him a poem. And his nickname for me was Bunny because he said I was always doing something. And whenever he calls me, he greets me the same way every time. Bunny on the move, Bunny on the move. And so that was my nickname that he gave me. And I said, but you're always moving along with me. And so in the poem, I dubbed him Froggy T because his name is Thomas. And so that's where Froggy T comes from. And so I wrote the poem, but it just kept sitting with me even after the portion that I shared with him was given. And I was like, this really is a children's story. And I was like, I know what I'll do. I'll turn it into a book, but I'll give him the book. And that was it. That was just the plan. In 2008, I was just going to turn that poem into a book, surprise him on his birthday the next year. Well, little did I know it was going to take me 12 years to be given the illustrator that would take what was in here all of that time and actually turn it into something. In the process of finding or being delivered the right illustrator, because I had a couple people who I thought were going to be illustrators and they ended up not doing it. And I kept saying, God, whoever it is that you want to do this job, just bring them to me. And then one day during a workout session, the trainer's wife had sent an animation. And I said, oh, does she do illustration? And he said, yes. So she did the first run of the illustrations. And then last year, let's see, March 11th, I was actually at a publishing event to learn more about children's books and how to go about publishing them with Dr. Gordon's niece. Now, why that's an important part of the story is for 12 years, I never told Dr. Gordon that I was going to do this. So it had been a secret the entire time. So now I'm actually recruiting his family members to help me pull off this big thing. And anybody who knows me, I love surprising people with good stuff. And I can obviously keep a secret. I'm a clinical psychologist, so I can add confidentiality to the grave, right? It comes, it stays. And so we're now at this event trying to learn how to do this. And I told her my idea. I said, not only do I see a children's book, but I see stuffed animals and I see products like cups. And, I'm seeing all of these types of things. And I said, and I see an animation. And she says to me, well, why does the animation have to come last? And I was like, yeah, it doesn't. I said, give me 1 second. I called my husband on the phone. And I was like, I need to have a meeting with Milton. Now, Milton is someone who I met 7 years ago. My husband and I run a film festival called the Piton International Film Festival. And he is one of the people who have been one of our greatest supporters. Here's the other thing. Milton lives on the island of St. Lucia. So I said, I need to talk to Milton. Can you get me a meeting ASAP? He's like, when do you want it? And I look at the time, it's 8:45. I'm at Rutgers Camden at this event. I'm like, it'll take me 45 minutes to get home. Can you set it up for 9:45 tonight? No problem. I get home, run in the house, jump on the couch, and now I'm on the phone with Milton. And I said, look, I have this children's book. I've had it since 2008. Can you animate it? I share it with him. He's like, no problem. I love it. So now for the next 90 to 120 days, Milton is working on this animation. And as he's sending me samples back, I'm recognizing that it's close to the original illustrations, but it's not a direct match. And I know now if I'm going to market it, there needs to be more similarity. So I asked him and his team to redo the illustrations, so that therefore there would be a match between the two. In 2008, all I was doing, I had a little yellow sheet of paper with a poem. That's all I thought it was going to be. I had no idea that 12 years later, I would end up with a printed version, an ebook version, a digital audiobook version, and an animated version, and would be sharing it with the world. Last year, when Ms. Greenberg asked me to come back for Career Day, which is also very important because it was 6th grade Career Day at Norwood when I decided that I wanted to be a psychologist. And I turned to Kate Yanity and I asked her what was the difference between a psychologist and a psychiatrist. And her father was a psychiatrist. And so she told me the difference. And I said, but I still get to listen to people and I still get to be a doctor. And she said, yes. And that was important to me because my grandfather was an MD. As Ms. Greenberg mentioned, my father was one of the first 3 Black veterinarians in the state of Pennsylvania. So I knew I could be a veterinarian. I knew I could be an MD. I didn't have an issue with blood, so I thought about surgery. Like all of this was happening very quickly at that Career Day. And I kept thinking about the fact that people would always tell me how good I listened. And I knew with a psychologist, that was what I was called to do. And so it was in that moment that I made that decision and I kept that close to my heart and continued through life's journey until it was so. So now with all of that being said, you will see pieces of it in the story. And so I want to share with you, I'll share with you the animation first so you can learn the story and then we'll move on. All right.
There was a frog who hopped all day, looking for a bunny to laugh and play. He looked and looked, but could not find a match for both his soul and mind.
This cannot be,
Said Froggy T.
I know she's here. She's always near. She's been in my life at least 40,000 years. Why is she hiding? What must I do? I've got it. I'll play a jig or two.
So Froggy T picked up his sax, and as he played, his soul relaxed. The melody, so soft and sweet, would move that bunny to her feet. So with a prayer and then a blow, the melody began to flow. As Froggy T played, Bunny swayed and moved to the beat. At first a pat and then a clap, the rhythm ran down deep. She burst in song, singing all day long, wondering from whence it came.
What is this song I sing all day long? I hear the tune from sun to moon. When did this start? This tune in my heart that makes me laugh and sing. I cannot stop, for I must hop. Deep in my soul, there is a hole from where the music does seem to flow. I guess as I travel, the mystery will unravel.
So Bunny just got up to go. And then one day, a note he did play that struck a chord so deep within. Bunny stopped in her tracks with her wit intact. She knew where she would go. The tune, the song, the author was clear, no longer far, but close and near. As sure as the sun rose, Bunny knows what she knows, and she hopped the whole day through with purpose, direction, and godly protection. Bunny knew what she had to do. She hopped day and night, giggling and searching with all her might to find the source of the mysterious tune. As she heard the song, her feet hopped along. She knew once more what fate was in store. And there she stood before the magical door. She closed her eyes, knowing what's inside. As she held her breath, faith did the rest.
Oh, could it be?
She bounced with glee.
Yes, oh yes, it's Froggy T.
What took you so long? I almost finished the song.
Said Froggy T, looking confused.
I got sidetracked, but I told you I'd be back. Your faith, don't you ever lose.
They hopped and played and sang all day, glad to be together again.
What did you learn through life's trips and turns?
Froggy T asked Bunny.
I learned to listen, love, and follow my heart each and every day through. I learned that music between friends never ever ends, regardless of a century or two.
With that said, they danced and went ahead with the rest of life's full adventure. Where will they end up? What tales will they tell? Who knows? But they'll live happily ever after.
And there it is. So as you can see, I put the words there. There is the teacher in me, as I mentioned, so there's layers to it. I debated about putting the words there, but again, the educator in me says that children are learning how to read. And so with the words being there, there is the opportunity to teach as far as inflection, pronunciation. There's also the ability for them to see punctuation. All of that is very important. And I just think about, with Miss Torpy, who was, several of our library teacher, and the importance of going to library and how those books impacted me. Not only did they teach me life lessons, like from Shel Silverstein, I learned a lot about how to interact with people from where the sidewalk ends. And that was poetry, many times very short stories, but nonetheless very impactful lessons. Where the wild things are, the colors, the pictures were grabbing many. I can't tell you how many times I took that book out. So it was important to me that there were vibrant colors that would catch children's eye, as well as parents' eyes who are buying these books for the children. For there to be lessons for the adult as well, or the older person reading, as well as the person receiving, because there's messages for everyone involved. I have written 5 other ones that are in process of being illustrated and animated already. And as I test market them with people, the adults, the first things they ask me are, did you write this for me or did you write this for my child? And I said, actually, I wrote it for everybody because it's important that we all pick up lessons and throughout life, because there's so many times where we were in school and a lesson may have been taught, and Brian can testify to this, we might have been doing something else besides paying attention to what the teacher was saying. So be it laughing, making eye contact, passing a note, that we might not have always been paying attention. And so there may have been lessons that were missed. And the story is an opportunity to re-emphasize those lessons, even as you are the reader. It is also layered with concepts like faith, so that would create conversation within the family. So when Bunny says, your faith don't you ever lose, well, what does she mean by that? This is an opportunity for family to talk about values, to talk about their religious and spiritual beliefs and help instill that. When he talks about 40,000 years, it's an opportunity to teach numbers. Here, where did I see that? Let me go back, because so many times books are references. I know even in grad school, I would look at articles and learn how to cite based on other people's writing. So let me see, how do I use the punctuation? So I never know what someone is going to use a book for. So I thought it was very important that all of that was in there. We know that there's different types of learners. So I wanted to make sure that it was visually appealing for the visual learner. I wanted to make sure auditorily it was appealing for that person that learns auditorily. The animation provides somewhat of a kinesthetic for the kinesthetic learner. So all of that went into the thought process. One of the things that I do want to share with you as well, let me pull it back up here. Wait, I have to find it first. I made sure that there was a glossary at the end of it, because again, so many times the reference, we don't know what children will use as a reference, and they will go to their favorite book many times. From a teacher, we would use it as context clues, but from a student, they may pick it up and that may be kind of a dictionary for them. So I wanted to provide them that opportunity. So this right here is the illustrated version. So I'll share it with you. It's the same story, but it's a different way to tell the story through pictures, obviously.
There was a frog who hopped all day, looking for a bunny to laugh and play. He looked and looked, but could not find a match for both his soul and mind.
This cannot be.
Said Froggy T.
I know she's here. She's always near. She's been in my life at least 40,000 years. Why is she hiding? What must I do? I've got it. I'll play a jig or two.
So Froggy T picked up his sax, and as he played, his soul relaxed. The melody, so soft and sweet, would move that bunny to her feet. So with a prayer and then a blow, the melody began to flow. As Froggy T played, Bunny swayed and moved to the beat. At first a pat and then a clap. The rhythm ran down deep. She burst in song, singing all day long, wondering from whence it came.
What is this song I sing all day long? I hear the tune from sun to moon. When did this start? This tune in my heart that makes me laugh and sing. I cannot stop, for I must hop. Deep in my soul, there is a hole from where the music does seem to flow. I guess as I travel, the mystery will unravel.
So Bunny just got up to go. And then one day, a note he did play that struck a chord so deep within. Bunny stopped in her tracks with her wit intact. She knew where she would go. The tune, the song, the author was clear, no longer far, but close and near. As sure as the sun rose, Bunny knows what she knows, and she hopped the whole day through with purpose, direction, and godly protection. Bunny knew what she had to do. She hopped day and night, giggling and searching with all her might to find the source of the mysterious tune. As she heard the song, her feet hopped along. She knew once more what fate was in store, and there she stood before the magical door. She closed her eyes, knowing what's inside. As she held her breath, faith did the rest.
Oh, could it be?
She bounced with glee.
Yes, oh yes, it's Froggy T.
What took you so long? I almost finished the song.
Said Froggy T, looking confused.
I got sidetracked, but I told you I'd be back. Your faith, don't you ever lose.
They hopped and played and sang all day, glad to be together again.
What did you learn through life's trips and turns?
Froggy T asked Bunny.
I learned to listen, love, and follow my heart each and every day through. I learned that music between friends never ever ends, regardless of a century or two.
With that said, they danced and went ahead with the rest of life's full adventure. Where will they end up? What tales will they tell? Who knows? But they'll live happily ever after.
And I'm going to pause it right here for a moment. So here you can see, as I was mentioning, there's the glossary. And so terms, some of course they'll be familiar with. As we know, we have different readers, different levels. Some is going to push some of their vocabulary. Some is going to be a refresher for them, right? And some will be right at grade level. But I think, again, as an educator, it is important to be able to meet them at their different levels. And it also has provided me an opportunity to start to build feelings vocabulary. So it's like, Froggy T looking confused. What does confused look like? What does confused mean? Because that is something that we will experience on this journey called life. There's going to many things that confuse us. And so let's start getting those vocabulary, those feelings, vocabulary words into their system. So within each of the stories, I'm always making sure I'm increasing feelings vocabulary. And again, creating content for families to talk about. So you can see, I know as Miss Greenberg, I know as you're sitting here thinking, you think about Miss Torpy and Miss Schilling and, you know, all of the different educators throughout, Miss Connick, who was the music teacher, you know, the influences there. And that's one thing that I was sharing with the students today, is that all of these interactions that they're having are developing who they are as people. They are a culmination of all of their interactions. And there's various ways to express that. There's no right or wrong way. The illustration, the animation, it's the same story, but it's expressed differently. And so encouraging them to express themselves, whether it be in art, whether it be using words in verse and rhyme and music, however it is. And I think that's so important, and especially over this past year, where people have been feeling a lot of different feelings and experiencing life in a different way, the power and the importance of expression has become paramount. And also finding those things that bring you joy. So in the midst of many stressors and helping a lot of people, my work obviously as a clinician, also as a diversity, equity, and inclusion expert, helping in that way, I have been taxed in this past year and pulled. And one of the things that helped bring me constant joy was honestly working on on this. And so, you know, some late nights where after, you know, doing seminars for universities and agencies, all I could think about was, okay, what am I going to write about now? What are Froggy T and Bunny up to now? And it was like, you know what? Bunny gets bullied. Okay, let me see what I can write about that. And, you know, Bunny, you know, Froggy T is feeling a bunch of feelings. All right, what's it like? Because here's an opportunity now for males to be able to express their feelings, because so many times males are not allowed to express most of their feelings. They're told they can be really kind of angry, and that's really about the only one that y'all get a chance to express. But, you know, there's the full range. There's the full range, you know, and when men don't, or even little boys, sometimes when they go to express their full range of feelings, they're told not to. It's okay for females to, but many times males are told not to. And so here's an opportunity for Froggy T to be a role model and a leader in that space, that he does have a bunch of feelings, and this is how you can express them in a healthy way. So Froggy T and Bunny really gives me an outlet to be the teacher that I am, to be the healer that I am, and also to be the creative and the artist that I am as well. It also allows me to pull in a lot of different people. Froggy T and Bunny, it took really, it's a global initiative. The animator, the illustrator, and the saxophone player are all from St. Lucia. And the two voiceover artists are based out of the US. And then someone who also helped me with layout is from Texas. I mean, so I had to tap on a whole lot of resources in order to do this. An interesting fact as well is that in December, I started my own publishing company, which is called Planner's Knowledge, because when I would send the work out to be edited and people would see it, they would tell me that the word God had to be put in a lowercase g. And I was like, I'm not putting God in the lowercase g. I was not raised to put God in the lowercase g. God is an uppercase, capitalized, the original OG, like he's got. I can't do it. And I said, I know how to, exactly. I said, I know how to fix that. If it's my own company and I put it through myself, I can put it however I want. And so I, you know, did some research, talked to a few people. So I'm still learning. And so that's also exciting too, that this one little poem that I considered to be a joke has now turned into 2 legitimate companies 12 years later. And it's constantly teaching me. You know, it's feeding me as well, and it's also allowing me to give back to the world. And as Ms. Greenberg and I learned today, there's a lot of students who are creating works. They have unpublished works. They have joint projects, from comic books to books that they've written. And so I said, I would love to establish something with Norwood and to be able to be a publisher for literally children's books, books written by children. And I thought how exciting that would be, you know, to be able to go into high school or put on your high school applications that you have a published book. So I think that's a, you know, a great opportunity that we can continue to flesh out, because I was shocked at the number of students who talked about things that they've written and how they want to publish. And I'm definitely in support, you know, in support of that. So I'd love to take any questions or comments at this point.
Well, I will just confirm that at NFA, if you spell G, a lowercase g in God, it will be marked incorrect.
This is what I know.
That will continue. So I am fully in support of that, only with an uppercase G. Again, I think we have a small group tonight, so you certainly could unmute yourself and ask your question, or I can keep an eye on the chat if you prefer to write your questions and comments in.
Okay. I'm laughing at the chat here. I see Melissa, and hey, Melissa, by the way, she said that she tried to explain, her daughter came up to her and tried to explain to me who I was to her, which is funny because she knows me. So that had to be hilarious. What else did she put in here? She said, how do you manage to encourage others to have the characters in their children's libraries reflect the real world and not just who they see in the mirror or at the dinner table? Kudos on your efforts. Thank you. Boy, that's a question. So let me see. How do I manage to encourage others to have characters in their children's libraries that reflect the real world and not just who? Yeah, so I mean, that's the conversation, why it's important to ask people who in their library allows them to think differently than what they already think, who, you know, can expand their understanding of the world. And if you look in your library, who looks different than you? And I think it's, you know, it's just posed as a friendly challenge to them, just to get people to be more open to differences. That's all. I think it's just that question. And then sometimes it's sharing. If you find something that you feel as though is helpful, because that's the whole thing. So my company, my publishing company's name is Planters Knowledge, and that's with a capital P, because the planter is God. So Planters Knowledge is God's knowledge, and, you know, planting those seeds. And so what are those things that you can put into someone's life that is going to yield a great harvest, right? What are those thoughts? What are those concepts? What are those ideas? What are those experiences that can have a positive influence on someone? And so sometimes, you know, Oprah talked about sharing The Color Purple. She said she just bought a bunch of copies because she was so inspired by it and would just literally walk the streets and hand out copies. So I think if you find something that you feel as though is important for someone to have, that's a benefit to their life, you can gift it to them. Any other comments or questions?
Brian, you must have something.
Well, I was going to type, but I'll say it in person. So what would be the best way to support Norwood and your books? Is should we buy it through Norwood or directly through you, or is there some kind of I'm not looking for a deal, and just the opposite. I'm looking to give more.
Oh, thank you very much. So, I mean, going through Amazon is great because it pushes the numbers. So like, for instance, this weekend, I felt like I've never been to a horse track, but I'm imagining, I felt like I was at a horse track because earlier in the day, it was like number 85 on beginning readers. And then it went up to number 38. And then it went up to number 22. And I felt like the old, stock market, like buy. like trading places.
Yeah.
And then next thing I know, it got up to number 5, and I'm like, keep hopping, like. And so, as much as I do want people to buy through me, because I love being able to, do autographed copies and send them to people, I do also understand the business side of it. And so needing to buy from Amazon. However, some people have asked me about doing large quantities and a wholesale type. Now, if that's the case, I encourage people to contact me directly at plannersknowledge@gmail.com. And then that way I can at least, we can figure out a way to do a wholesale price.
And Norwood might have a nonprofit page on Amazon. Is that correct?
Yes. So
Yeah.
thank you, Brian, for mentioning
Brian
that.
is
So you
great.
all could, Amory, did you set this up or something? So you can all select Norwood on your Amazon Smile selection, so that a portion of all your purchases on Amazon will go towards NFA, and we encourage you to do that. And you can also, because I know we have some more NFA PA folks on the call, you can also buy your Amazon gift cards through Script at NFA, and then a percentage also goes. So
excellent.
All that out on our website, so please feel free to visit the website. But we love to see everybody reading wonderful literature like Dr. Walls has produced. So please support Dr. Walls with your purchase of the book.
And I just want to say congratulations from the bottom of my heart. It's just an incredible story, and it's incredible to see you after all these years. And there's no doubt, if you pressed me many years ago, who would have been in a seat of success, I definitely would have bet on you as being there. So it's a real pleasure, and I look forward to talking with you later.
Yeah, I do too.
Agreed, Brian.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you. And I know it's 100% true. That's the best part about knowing you. Thank you.
Yeah. Interesting story about, I think it was Mrs. Nagel. I remember learning about grad school, and I was like, what's that? What's grad school? And they're like, that's where really smart people go. and Kathy could probably tell you that wasn't the strongest student at that point. And I'm like, well, I'm going to go do that, because that's where smart people go. I'm going to go get that master's thing. So it's amazing how Norwood had the same kind of situation for both of us. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely a seed. Definitely.
Hey, Kath, I got my books today.
Oh,
yay! Yeah, we can. I know, I was so excited. So thank you.
Perfect timing. Thank you. Yeah, it's so beautiful. I mean, the colors are just so vibrant. The quality is, very, very good. I'm very proud of it. I'm very proud of it. It's so good.
And you should be.
Thank you. I was looking at Kim Koshnick's. Hey, Kim. Oh, my goodness. She said, it has been 38 years since you were my partner for the 1st and 8th grade. Hey! Oh, it's so good to see you. Well, go ahead, Kim. You speak for yourself. I want to hear your voice.
No, you know what? I think this is just another example of another NFA grad who has done well, representing the base that Norwood provides, including God in our lives, and, promoting us doing what we love and following our passion. So, hi, Brian. So I was ecstatic to hear about this, and I congratulate you. And I know that my children love to write. So I am thrilled about the possibility of kids getting involved. I know that they would both be ecstatic over this.
Oh, great. I look forward to meeting them. You are welcome.
Thank you.
Oh, it's so good to see you.
Maybe Dr. Walls, not putting you on the spot, but maybe we could do an anthology as part of our 100th.
That would be great.
Some of our student work and publish anthology in our 100th year.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Look, I'm going to grab some keys in a minute.
And I can just say that after today's presentation with the 3 groups that we had, I expect a pile of works on my desk to give to Kathleen to be published. So they were so excited to hear about that. The 6th, 7th, and 8th grade were like jumping out of their skins. They were like,
It was
"Oh,
so
really?"
great. Right.
So it was great. Great.
That was so good.
No, and,
So
and, it,
good.
and every group was riveted. I mean, I didn't get to attend all of them, but I know Amory and Shannon Craig were there. And sometimes you think like 6th and 8th grade, are they going to be, you know, it's young children's book, but they were riveted. Everyone was fully engaged. It's easy to tell because Kathleen is Kathleen, and, you know, has such an engaging presence. But it really is so great to see the wonderful alum that NFA has produced for these many years.
Yeah.
How many we'll have in the next 100 years? I know we have a lot of alum, and some are currently parents here as well. So great to have all of you joining us tonight.
Yes. Thank you.
Hello,
Mrs. Tilly. You look like you're trying to say something.
It's Jen Stroh. I miss you.
I know. How are you?
Cool.
Say it
Good
again.
to see you. I just wanted to say congratulations.
Oh,
My kids
thank
have
you.
gone through our Norwood now.
Thank you. Oh, wow.
Mhm.
We'll have to catch up off
For sure. So good to see you. Thank you.
too.
Oh, I see Miss Holly wrote, thank you for putting that. She said her daughter came home so excited about my presentation. Thank you for coming back to NFA and inspiring our children. You are welcome. It was, you know, such a full circle moment. It was something I never, again, like I said, I was just writing the poem to be funny. Never did I imagine that this moment would come and to be able to give back to the place where it all started. I'm working very hard not to cry. Is very special.
Well, we're so proud of you and
Thank
all
you.
my other alums. So, and you can all come back and do presentations
That's right.
anytime you want. Just send me an email. It's great. Listen, I remember you guys when you were in 3rd grade.
Mm-hmm.
And Brian, you had a little more hair then, a little more freckles.
It's in the back.
There it is.
It's there.
There
It's
it
back there.
It's
There
back.
it is. Was the freckles and the red hair.
That's it.
Yes.
Perfect. But and and that's the best part of my job is being able to reconnect with these kids that I've known since 1980. So
Yeah.
it's I'm just in awe of them all. So.
And I think it's so important because we don't realize a lot of times, like, you know, back in 6th grade, back in 3rd grade, that I know that those moments were going to impact my life the way that they did. No, I can't say that I did, you know, but looking back, how powerful they were. All of these relationships that I have here, Brian and I rode the bus together for many years. Nancy and I were not the best of friends when she first came. And then we grew into a great friendship. We had to have a courageous conversation very early on, but that was the conversation that created the friendship between us. You know, the line about a friendship never ends, regardless of a century or two. That's really a nod to Nancy. I've never told her that. But Nancy and I speak like twice a year at the most, once on my birthday, once on her birthday, but it's like no time has ever passed. And I think that's important because there are those types of friendships that we have, and we need to acknowledge the different levels of friendships. Brian, I haven't seen, goodness, what, in 20 years, maybe at this point.
Mhm.
But I feel like the moment he came on, I feel like it's no biggie, you know, we'll just pick up right where we left off.
That's
And
right.
so I think that's, you know, the power and the importance of relationships. So, and all of that was developed during my time at Norwood with the character, as Kim was saying, with the, you know, the lessons that were instilled through the various teachings, from the teachers to the stories of Jesus, the spiritual, you know, foundation, obviously my parents, but all of that, and also the friends that I had, the expectations that I had for myself, that I had for them, that we hold ourselves accountable for. You know, Miss Greenberg, you mentioned one of my closest friends was one of our greatest opponents in grade school from St. Alphonsus. When we got to high school, she befriended me, and we've been the closest of friends ever since. And again, this is because Miss Porter and you You know, you taught us the power and the purpose of sportsmanship and good sportsmanship. You know, all of those things impacted us and saturated us and definitely direct the way that we move in life. So I thank you all. And even for those teachers who are no longer with us, I thank them too. My mother asked, she's like, "Where's Sister James Anthony?" I was like, well,
He's still watching.
exactly. Exactly. So thank you. Thank you all for this time.
Thank you.